All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we get ready for an exciting day of action here in Santa Clara on a Thursday. I don't know if it'll be super exciting, but we'll be here on a Thursday. Robert Saleh is going to talk. We're going to be at practice. The sun is shining. The Niners are 2-0. It is time to get fired up. All right, I don't know. I'm just yelling and screaming. But hey, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them I sent you. And then for this 49er football season, this entire Niners football season is presented on the Krug Show by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. And we have killed it this year on Sleeper. I think we've won both weeks. So, and we'll talk more about our picks later in the week. All right, this morning what we're talking about though before practice, Matt Maiocco went on KMBR and then John Lynch went on KMBR, and I know you guys want to know all the details and just get some perspective on that stuff. So it's good stuff. Lynch first tackled the topic about Brock Purdy. All options are available. When we say all options, what does that mean? What he says, all options, what does he mean? I think he means that, Brock, was limited yesterday in practice. He could come out here today and look like a world beater and, play Sunday against the Cardinals. I don't think that's going to happen. Or he could, wind up being the backup. Then they got to make a decision. They want to win this game. It's a division game. I thought they want to win every game, but do they make Brock the backup quarterback, the number 2, and have Adrian Martinez as the emergency quarterback? Does Brock become the emergency quarterback and Martinez is the number 2? So, John said all the options are available. They'll make an organizational decision later on this week. My guess is that they're going to do with what they did last week, is that they're going to go with Mac Jones. Adrian Martinez is going to be the backup, and they're going to give Brock Purdy the week off, more rest for that toe. That would be the guess. But we'll see. We'll see how he looks today. I want to take a look for myself at practice and see what he looks like. But all the options are available, and those are basically all of the options. Maiocco made the point saying, hey, the game plan's not going to change that much between Purdy and Mac Jones because, they're very similar quarterbacks. Purdy's obviously got more mobility, but they're going to run the same stuff either way, it sounds like. And Matt didn't think it was that big of a difference. As far as the game plan, there's a few different things I'm sure you'll do with Mac Jones that you wouldn't do with Purdy, but they're basically similar enough that I think Matt is absolutely on point on that. They brought up the fact with Maiocco that the Niners D-line has been a real positive. And I would say, yeah, if you want to say what's the big, positive surprise in the first 2 weeks, it's the D-line. The D-line's played well. Mikel had a great game this last game. Alfred Collins is improving so fast that it's almost like hard to believe. If you looked at his tape just, 4 or 5 weeks ago, when he first, started playing, and then what it looked like in the first game, and then what it looked like in the second game. There's a saying that you improve the most from year 1 to year 2 as a football player in the pros, and that in a season that these guys improve the most from week 1 to week 2. And I think it makes sense. I think what makes sense to me about that is just that, you play that week 1 game, you do the best you can do, you prep. You then get to watch that film, right? And that film is the learning session, and that's where Saleh is going to go through it, and Chris is going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and all the different things. And just from talking to Tatum Bethune in the locker room yesterday, and talking to some of the defensive players about how they watch film, they're trying to be perfect and then on the way, on the path to perfect, hopefully you get to Pro Bowl, or very good. But the goal is to be perfect, and they're trying to be perfect, and that's how they coach it. They coach every single point. Johnny Holland, Bullocks in the secondary, every single possible point, because they're trying to get these guys to be perfect, and that's kind of their process. But Alfred Collins, I thought this week, the highlight reel of Alfred Collins playing with power, playing with motor, playing with leverage on a bended knee, firing out, showing hustle. He's just so big and strong and talented that when he gets it and everything's rolling, it's like, good luck blocking that guy, man. He's young, but man, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be good. What he is? He's a guy that, I don't know. It was all gonna matter about what system and what coach he got with. If he got in some bad system and some coach that didn't care or something, if he got into a system in just a bad situation for whatever reason, I could see him just having a mediocre career. But instead, he gets drafted onto a D-line that has Nick Bosa on it, who's like the ultimate template on how to do everything from diet to training to, committing to the lifestyle of being great as a defensive lineman. And so he's got that as an example. Then he's got Chris to coach him up. You got Ronnie Blair on staff, was a hell of a player at App State, and I'm sure he helps these guys. Collins is coming on. And you can see it. Mikael Williams had a hell of a game, just whipping the tight end. I looked at him as a defensive end that didn't have a lot of moves in the draft, and really what he is, he's just a first and second down defensive end run defender, and he's a dominating interior third down rusher. And those dominating interior third down rushers are incredibly valuable. So the strength that he has been able to play with inside, and Gross Matos has been able to play with inside, has been impressive. CJ West is improving. Kalia looks really good. Jordan Elliott looks really good. Sam Aquinu looks really good. This defensive line, if you said what is the big shocker to me in the first 2 weeks, that this defensive line just looks like a lot. It looks like a lot. And in their NASCAR package, they look really, really scary. And what I love the most, I think, about it is how well conceived the NASCAR package is, which is you have Huff, and he's such a dominant edge piece, get off the ball guy, and now you put him opposite Bosa, and that just widens everything and gives a lot of space inside for Gross Matos and Mikael, and they're way too tough to handle in open spaces for these NFL guards. And I just, if these guys can keep these guys all healthy, knock on wood, man, that is going to be a dynamic package coming at the quarterback on third down. So, Matt made the point that the run defense has been good and that the pass rush is going to need to step it up. I would basically agree. I just think it's a week-to-week thing. And they got a lot of guys, though. They got a lot of guys up front there that really look good. Matt mentioned that they're playing a lot of big nickel, with Jair Brown as kind of a pseudo linebacker safety role. And they're playing a lot of nickel, period, with Upton Stout, manning a significant role in their nickel. And both those, the big nickel with Jair, that might just be his spot. He might just be the perfect guy to play that. We'll talk to Robert Saleh about that today. Fred Warner was PFF's highest graded defensive player, is PFF's highest graded defensive player. Matt brought up the point that, man, he was off to an awesome start last year until he had that ankle fracture. And then he wound up playing with the ankle fracture. So knock on wood, Fred stays healthy because, man, Fred is having a year. He looks great. Right now, Nick Martin is awesome. And he can't get on the field on this team because you got D. Winters and Fred Warner playing with their hair on fire. And it's really something to watch. And then Matt talked about the NFC West, how it could be a three playoff team division. Niners, Rams, Cardinals all 2-0. Seattle's 1-1. And they really did a nice job of beating Pittsburgh. And, the NFC West has got some easy draws as far as the other divisions. And we'll see, how many teams can get in. I mean, this week, of course, you got the Rams and the Eagles, so that's kind of the scheduling, the difference between the first place schedule and the last place schedule is the Niners avoid that game and the Rams play that game this week. But I do think the NFC West, the Rams, with all the weapons they have offensively and the young defensive talent they have, they look like a very complete football team to me. And then you've got Seattle, and Seattle, I'm not a big fan of Darnold or their offense, but Jackson Smith-Njigba is a terrific receiver, one of the most unstoppable receivers going, and their defense on all three levels looks pretty good. McDonald is a defensive guy. I would imagine their defense is going to get better and better and better as the year goes on. So I think this division's tough. I don't see a dog in this division. Any game that you play in this against teams from the NFC West this year is going to be a tough game. I don't care who you're playing. Arizona, Seattle, Niners, Rams, doesn't matter. All these teams are good. Then they mentioned that Kyle's, lost both these games last year. The Niners lost both these games to Arizona. You don't want to get swept by the Cardinals, that's for sure. And so this is a big game from that standpoint. The Niners also will be wearing the 94 all-white throwbacks, which personally is my favorite uniform. I just think that's such a clean look. It's a very white look, obviously. White pants, white shirts, but it makes these guys look fast. I don't know. It's a good look, and it really looks good and televised as well. They've done it a lot at night. This will be in the daytime. They're doing it because last year Niners Cardinals early in the year was smoking hot, and they felt like they had a little bit of a disadvantage wearing the red instead of the Cardinals wearing the white. So they'll flip it around. I think it's smart, and also I think it's a good look. And also, why not give your home fans a taste of all the different kind of uniforms that you have over the course of the season? Why not? Why not? Then John Lynch stopped by. That was the Mayoko interview. Then John Lynch stopped by with Murph and Marcus on the executive show, and he had a lot of interesting things to say. We'll just go through it quickly, though. He said Robert Saleh's head coaching experience with the Jets, he thinks, has made him a better coach overall. I may ask Saleh about that today. Lynch says that he really loves the style of play of the defense, where everybody runs to the ball and you arrive with bad intentions, is how he put it, being physical at the point of contact, across the board on all three levels of your defense. He said he really loves the defensive line as a group. He says they're well coached with Kasarik, they're fundamentally sound, and that they're playing smart, which is going to be necessary this week. And I think that is a key factor for Sunday. The Niners need to rush in a four-man complementing one another. They got to have a well-coordinated four-man rush plan, and they will. But against Kyler, it becomes that much more important because he can go the distance on you at any moment. So you have to have that urgency. And I think they'll have a really well-coordinated four-man plan. In fact, Bosa kind of referenced it yesterday that he likes the plan. So I'm really eager to see what the plan is against Kyler this week. As far as Purdy's status, we already talked about that. The big question is, how does he respond today? And that's what we'll look for today out on the practice field. What is he looking like? And then they'll make a decision later in the week. John talked about Connor Colby and, asked the question, hey, can they, he did it this week. He was great. Can he do it consistently? That's the job. Barch goes to the IR with the high ankle sprain, and they love Colby. He says you never know if a guy's going to do it or not. And, 7th-round pick. But Iowa's run game is similar to the Niners' run game. He said that, I thought the key phrase that he said on the show was, it's not too big for him. So he's not overwhelmed by any of this. He's a good pass protector. He's shown good in the run game. And as John said, now it's just a matter of, you had a good game in all phases. Let's stack these games. Let's put them back to back to back. The NFL is all about this week and what you're doing. But Colby looks great. Lynch lauded the consistency of Fred Warner. I thought that was interesting. Just the fact that he, how Lynch has played with Derek Brooks. Lynch has played, years and years, played on Pro Bowl teams with Junior Seau, and he's seen some of the greatest backers this league's ever seen. And to laud the consistency of Fred Warner, I think that's something that, if I was Fred, I mean, that little compliment, I'd take that one. I take that one to heart, man. That's an incredible comment, and we're going to talk more about that tonight on Niners Nightly. The concept of being consistent, and that's really what Fred Warner does. He consistently practices and plays at a high level. He consistently punches out the ball now. He's going for the turnover. He realizes the value of possession of the football as he's gotten veteran status in this league. So. Gotta love Fred Warner, and Lynch, lauded, as I said, his consistency. Lynch mentioned that Alfred Collins had his best game as a 49er, mentioned that before. Yeah, I mean, there's no question Collins is rocking and rolling compared to where he was. And it's a testament to him, his work ethic, and Chris and that coaching staff. They have been on him, and he wants to be good, and he's got the tools to be good. And it's just like, hey, man, are you going to walk through that door, or are you not? And he is. And that's encouraging. This is a big, talented defensive tackle. In some ways, I think Alfred Collins has as much talent as any guy on the entire team. And if the 49ers can get the most out of Alfred Collins, watch out, because he is so big and so talented. So I think that's probably the best news of this entire day, is that they're really, really excited about the growth that Alfred Collins is making. And then they talked about Jake Tongas. He says, man, he does a really nice job. He's smart. He's versatile. He can play the Y tight end, the F tight end. He can play fullback. He's athletic. He catches the ball well. Tongas has stepped up. He has been outstanding with Kittle out. Talked about Mac Jones. He said he felt like he did really well. He said by that second series, Mac played in rhythm. I agree, and the Niners, great pickup. I mean, that was a great pickup. I talked about it all offseason. We had rankings. What was the best move of the offseason? This pick, that pick, Robert Saleh. And I kept maintaining it was Mac Jones. Mac Jones. And Mac Jones has found himself here and looks really, really good. Now, hopefully he can replicate what he did in the Superdome if he gets the second start in the home opener against the Cardinals. And then, Lynch finished up talking about the running backs. He was asked about CMC, and he just mentions how CMC can line up all over the field. He can run routes like a receiver, and that he had a fantastic game. And Shanahan told me yesterday, he said he thinks CMC is the best route running back ever. Now, I'm 55. I got the gray hairs to show it, right? There was this cat, Roger Craig, okay? He was pretty good. Pro Bowl fullback, Pro Bowl running back, first thousand. Nothing against CMC, and I do agree that CMC is probably the best. But the sleeper one is not Roger. The debate that a lot of people had when I put out the poll and when we put out this social media thing of, I told CMC, hey, Kyle said you're the best ever. He's like, man, from him, that's cool. It's coming from him, that means a lot. And it really does. I mean, for Kyle to say that. And there's been a lot of great receiving backs. Ronnie Harmon. You guys remember Ronnie Harmon? He was a hell of a receiving back. Obviously Marshall Faulk and others. But I thought Larry Centers in Arizona was a hell of a receiver as a fullback out of the backfield, just talking about receivers that were also backs. There's been a number of really good ones. But the guy to me that I think I would, if you're saying, is Christian undoubtedly the best ever? Well, okay, that's Kyle's thought. I would put 1994 Ricky Watters probably up against what I see right now. Ricky Waters was a receiver at Notre Dame, and he was an awesome athlete, and made some amazing, from 90 through 94 or whatever with the Niners, maybe it was 91 through 94, I forget the exact years. Waters was pretty money, and he could really catch the football. Caught an amazing touchdown in Super Bowl 29. So Kyle's Kyle, and who am I? I'm just a guy. Kyle's seen a lot of football, and he says Christian's the best receiving running back. The old school Niner fans push back a little bit on Twitter, and we're like, hey, Roger Craig. Let me just put one person's vote at, hey, don't forget how great of a receiver Ricky Watters was. And if you don't believe me, go check it out for yourself on YouTube. I'm sure there's Ricky Watters highlights. Also, he was asked about, has CMC lost a step? And he said that the Niners analytics team, I think this is also kind of an interesting thing I may tweet about later. The Niners analytics team said that CMC's game against New Orleans was his most efficient game as a 49er. Wow, that's interesting. One last thing we'll leave you on a real positive note. Lynch also mentioned this morning that he's really excited about Jordan James and what's coming down the road for Jordan James. So they like Jordan James. They think he's going to get some run at some juncture. And we'll finish on that note. So a lot of positive things. A lot of positive things on a Thursday. We're going to go to practice. We're going to hear from Robert Saleh, what he's got to say. I think we get to hear from some of the others as well, maybe even a few locker room interviews. So there you go. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for sponsoring the Krueger Show. Thanks to Sleeper for sponsoring this video. Thanks to you guys for supporting the Krueger Show on YouTube.